Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Janavala, Gopi Janavala Girivaradari Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradari Girivaradari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Nana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Nana Bhajana Ranjana Chamuratira Vanachari Chamuratira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradari Girivaradari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Nanda Bhajana Ranjana Chamuratira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahams Virat Katavya Aston Sat Divine Love Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Premita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Maipur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Chamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtana Ki Jai, the Gauda Premanandi Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So, I have something here. So, do you have something there to read on today? No, listen.
What's that?
Okay, I can read it. I've got a bit more Bhagavatam.
You want this though?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Whoever compiled this did a wonderful service. Hare Krishna. All right, so we begin with, today is the glorious appearance of Radha Kund and Bahulashtami. So someone sent me a message yesterday doubting that both these days appear today. So what to make of that? Anyway, as far as we're concerned, let's read about the appearance of Radha Kund and Shyamakund, and we'll read a little bit about Bahulashtami. Okay. Radha Kund is considered the most sacred among all places in the universe. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world. Because the Lord appeared there, superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Raslila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarean prema of the Lord of Gokula, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve the divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Where is this from? Nectar of Instruction, yes, text 9. Correct, yeah. After Sri Krishna killed the bull demon, Aristasura, Sri Srimati Radharani told him that he had to purify himself of the sin of killing a bull by taking bath in all the sacred places. Sri Krishna was eager to enjoy the pastimes with Radhika, so he put his heel on the ground, created a great hole, and invited all the sacred waters to come. The personifications of all the sacred lakes and rivers at once appeared, and after offering their prayers, they poured their waters into the pond. Krishna then took bath in a lake, Shyamakund. Srimati Radharani takes bath daily in Shyamakund. Her midday bathing place is called Manasa Pavana Ghat. Sri Krishna then told the gopis that he had become purified by bathing in Shyamakund, but now the gopis would have to purify themselves as well, since they sided with a demon, even though it was in the form of a bull. So the gopis broke their bangles and dug a lake with it. In Vrindavan, the ladies' bangles are called kankan, and thus another name for Radha Kund is Kankam Kunda. However, there was no water in the Kund, so the gopis brought water from Manasa Ganga to fill up the lake. The sacred waters again appeared, and after being blessed by Srimati Radharani, they entered Radha Kund as well. Srimati Radharani is the most treasured object of Krishna's love, and in every respect her divine Kund is similarly dear to him. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Okay, so I read a little bit about Bahulashtami. Found something this morning. It's quite. 1 second. Hare Krishna. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet, of course. I suppose it might take. Might be too much endeavour to. Oh, 1 second. Perhaps if you could do it for me while I'll probably. Yeah, you can find it here. Okay. Okay, you know how. Bahulashtami, if I can, while we're finding it, the basic outline of the pastime is it's nicely shown in these Krishna in Vrindavan series cartoon. If you read them, if you've seen them, if you watched them, it's very nice. It's very sweet pastime. See. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, done, yeah? Thank you. Okay, let's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay, Bahulashtami. This I found on Dandavats. It's a very nice article, quite short. There's one prayer. It begins with the Nectar of Instruction, verse 11. Today we just read verse 9. This is verse 11. Of the many objects favoured delight by the cowherd damsels of Vrajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is rarely attained even by great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathed once within those holy waters, one's pure love for Krishna is fully aroused. That's Nectar Instruction, verse 11. Okay. So Bahulashtami. Once the cow Bahula was peacefully grazing when a tiger attacked her. Bahula requested the tiger to allow her to return her calf, feed it and bid it farewell before it made a meal of her. Agreeing to her proposal, the tiger waited for her return. In the meantime, the cow went to her master, a Brahmin, and to her calf and told them what had happened. When they heard her pitiful story, they volunteered themselves to go in her place as the tiger's meal. Bahula declined their selfless offer, but in the end, all three, cow, calf, and Brahmana, returned to offer themselves to the tiger, who was delighted by this exceedingly favorable turn of events. While the tiger contemplated which victim to eat first, who should appear but Lord Krishna, the presiding deity of Dharma and the guardian of all the residents of Raj. Holding his chakra in one hand, Krishna assured the tiger of everlasting fame if he were to show leniency to the cow and its kin for their truthful and honorable conduct. The tiger released Bahula from her promise, and the calf and Brahmana rejoiced on their mother being spared and felt blessed by Krishna's merciful intervention. Being so pleased with Bahula's truthfulness and integrity, Krishna named the forest after her, Bahulavan, and blessed her to become his consort. Thus, in his next birth, Bahula became one of Krishna's wives. This day is also named after her, Bahulashtami. But Bahulavan is considered by some Vaishnavas as the most sacred forest of all, for it includes the most sacred place of all, Sri Radhakund. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Upadeshamrita the following verse, which confirms the superiority of Radhakund above any place else. So we've read that, so we'll just In Navadvip Dham, Shri Radhakund has manifested herself in two places, the island of Rutadvip and Antadvip. In the Navadvip Bhava Taranga, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes the mood and activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he came to Rutadvip. Arriving at Rutadvip and seeing the beauty of the forest, Sachinanda started crying while remembering Radhakund and other sacred places. In the island of Antadvip, at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, the maternal uncle of Mahaprabhu, is the Sri Chaitanya Mat, which is the headquarters of Gaudiya Mat, established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Under guidance and instruction of Saraswati Thakur, his disciples brought the sacred waters, Giriraj Shilas, from the sacred Govardhan hill, and the Tamal and Keli Kadamba trees from Vrindavan, and being constantly absorbed in meditation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw these holy places to be manifest and present in the Mat. And just lastly here, in Sri Mayapur Chandradoya Mandir on the day of Bahulashtami, Radhakund and Shyamakund are manifest in two beautifully constructed ponds on the platform below the altar of Shri Madhava. The kunds are decorated with lotuses, lamps, and many beautiful shrubs and plants. Devotees are given the opportunity to bathe in these kundas by sprinkling drops of this sacred water on their heads. All glories to the appearance day of Shiv Kund, the holiest of holy places. Jai Shiv Kund ki jai, Bahulastami ki jai, Shyama Kund ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we are continuing to read from the Granth Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18. Today we're reading text 7. It's behind me, yes, and it's a prose verse, so I won't attempt to pronounce it. We won't attempt to repeat it back. What I'll do is I'll just read the verse, and then together we can repeat the word to word. Is that okay? Do you like that? Yeah. Harivashe chapi bhagavan nara hari rupen ashte tat rupa krahana nimitam utratrat vidya hasye tat diyatam rupam mahapurusha guna bhajano mahabhagavato daichya dhanava kula titi karana shila charita pralado vyadanaya bhakti yogena sahatat vasha purishe upaste idam choda hadati. Okay, should we do the word to word? Okay. Harivashe, in a tract of land known as Harivasha. Cha, also. Api, indeed. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narahari Rupena, his form of Nrsingadev. Aste is situated. Tat Rupa Grahana Nimitam. The reason why Lord Krishna, Keshava, assumed the form of Nrsimha. Uttaratra, in latter chapters. Abhidashe, I shall describe. Tat, that. Dayitam, most pleasing. Rupam, form of the Lord. Mahapurusha Guna Bhajana. Prahlad Maharaj, who is the abode of all good qualities and great personalities. Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee. Daicha Dhanava Kula Tita Karana Shila Charita, whose activities and character were so exalted that he delivered all the Daichas, demons born in his family. Palada, Maharaj Palad, Abhyadana Ananya Bhakti Yogena, by uninterrupted and unflinching devotional service. Saha, with Tatvasha Purushay, the inhabitants of Harivasa, Upaste, offer obeisances to and worships. Idam, this, cha, and Udaharati, chants. So translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. Sukadev Goswami continued, my dear king, Lord Nrsingadev resides in the tract of land known as Harivasha. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I shall describe to you how Prahlad Maharaj caused the Lord to assume the form of Nrsingadev. Prahlad Maharaj, the topmost devotee of the Lord, is a reservoir of all good qualities of great personalities. His character and activities have delivered all the fallen members of his demonic family. Lord Nrsingadev is very dear to this exalted personality. Thus Prahlad Maharaj, along with his servants and all the denizens of Harivasha, worships Lord Nrsingadev by chanting the following mantra. We won't repeat that together. Let's just read the purport. Jayadev Goswami's 10 prayers worshipping the incarnations of Lord Krishna, Keshava, contain his name in every stanza. For example, Keshava Dvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadishare, Keshava Dita Meena Sarira Jai Jagadishare, and Keshava Dita Bhanmana Rupa Jai Jagadishare. The word Jagat Isha refers to the proprietor of all the universes. His original form is the two-handed form of Lord Krishna, standing with a flute in his hands and engaged in tending the cows, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. Chintamani pakara satmasho kalpavriksha lakshaviteshu shurabhi api palayantam Lakshmi Shahasya Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindamari Purusham Tamam Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Unquote. From this verse, we learn that Govinda or Krishna is the Adi Purusha, the original person. The Lord has innumerable incarnations exactly like the innumerable waves of a flowing river, but the original form is Krishna or Keshava. Sukadev Goswami refers to Nrsingadev because of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was put into great distress by his powerful father, the demon Hiranyakasipu. Apparently helpless before him, Prahlad Maharaj called on the Lord, who immediately assumed the gigantic form of Lord Nrsingadev, half lion and half man, to kill the gigantic demon. Although Krishna is the original person, one without the second, he assumes different forms just to satisfy his devotees or to execute a specific purpose. Therefore, Jayadev Goswami always repeats the name of Keshava, the original personality of Godhead, in his prayers describing the Lord's different incarnations for different purposes. And Om Ganatamanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshom Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Sunyavari Pashtu Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So you find in the Srimad Bhagavatam that it contains many prayers. Yeah? Vandanam is one of the processes of pure devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Yeah? And Vandanam or prayer, it's natural for the jiva because we are all ultimately we have an intimate connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, the atheistic person will do everything to deny that connection, but we're all connected with the Supreme. Yeah? And the demigods are interesting jivas. They're extremely powerful. The demigods are, so they're demigods, that they are not the supreme Godhead. They act in that position as servants of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, just like the king has his governors, as his ministers, etc. But as a material example, because Krishna is not dependent upon anyone or anything, he is completely surat. But he engages these demigods, and they are devotees. Yeah? But they are devotees with a desire, material desire. Yeah? We cannot be without desire. Yeah? You can try that. Try to have no desire. Yeah? But Krishna consciousness is the process of having spiritual desires. But the demigods, they are known as mixed devotees. Yeah? A wonderful example of an unmixed devotee is mentioned in the personality of Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. Therefore, we pray to Nrsimhadev, and we pray to Prahlad Maharaj every morning. Yeah. He's a wonderful example of a pure, unadulterated devotee of the Lord. Yeah. But so the demigods often they have material desire. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada describes it as they still have a desire to control the material world, yeah? But they are pious, or perhaps they are very pious in that they understand their dependence upon the Lord for their maintenance. Yeah? And especially this is seen in the beginning of the Krishna book, when the world is being Krishna. You have Krishna book here, isn't it? When the world is being overrun by materialistic persons, yeah? Which happens to be going on at the present moment. Yeah. Now, materialistic persons, they are concerned with janasya moho ahamameti, I, me, and mine. Yeah. And they will do absolutely anything to get on top. They will do absolutely anything to satisfy the senses. Yeah. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, another verse describes that when one considers, when we say sense enjoyment means there's something beyond just the basic needs to satisfy the body. Yeah. So someone who's just immersed in being infatuated with their body, and they just want to satisfy somehow their body or the senses, describe that they become mad after materialistic living. Yeah. And become crazy. Pramata is the word that's used to become mad. Yeah? So I've said you're not supposed to tell your vows that you may take up for Kartik, but I'm going to tell mine here. One of my things that I try to do for Kartik is not to look at the news. It's wonderful. I've had a break for. Actually, I did it before Kartik. I got fed up with Mr. COVID and all the. Okay, give it a break. But anyway, we know the news is full of. You could say it's madness, isn't it? In this material world, it's just utter and complete madness. Is what one human being will do to another in order to lord it over. Yeah. So this was happening. It's not just happening now. It happens again and again and again. Yada, and then therefore Krishna comes. Yadi yada idamasha glani bhavati bhavata abhutaram tanavascha tadatmajam srijamayam paritnaya sadanam vanashyata diskatam dhamasam sapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yeah? That the Lord comes. Yeah? Because we are all His children. Jai Shri Gauranitai Mai Posha Shiki Jai. Yeah? So the Lord comes because we are His children. Yeah? And He comes to establish Dharma. Yeah? So you just think of, when you try and reflect on the affection that a mother has for her children. Yeah? What happens when a baby's crying? Yeah? Would a mother just sit there? No, the mother won't just sit there. The mother has this loving affection for her children. Yeah? So in the same way, in the demigods, the world is being overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of materialistic persons. Yeah? So they pray to the Lord to appear. Yeah? So they pray to the Lord to appear. Why? Because their situation was challenged. Yeah? They were concerned because they are devotees, but they have material desire. Yeah? They're called mixed devotees. Yeah? So they have a desire. So, but just this point that came to mind when I was reading through these verses or these prayers, that this is the safe place to be. It's the safe mentality to be in. Is to always see ourselves to be completely dependent upon the mercy of the Lord. Yeah. In one sense, it's interesting because it means we should have no confidence in ourselves. It sounds against what we call modern thinking, that we should always have some self-confidence, isn't it? You can make it. You can come to the top. You can be or whatever. Yeah. But no, that's why devotees, we always pray before we do any endeavor. You know? Even before we eat prasadam, we pray. We don't pray, what do we? Well, we're thanking the Lord. Yeah, this is a devotee. We are always grateful to the Lord for supplying our needs. Yeah. But ultimately, the difference between one say the mixed devotees, like here. I mean, here these prayers are very wonderful by the residents of Jambudweep. But there's a difference in the prayers of, say, the demigods and the prayers of a pure devotee. Yeah, the demigods are always, as we mentioned, are always concerned about their sthana, about their situation. Yeah, so should we be concerned about our sthana, our situation? You know? Some are saying yes, some saying no. Yeah. He say no. He saying yes. We should we plan? Should we pray to the Lord? Yeah. Osa kama shava kama va moksha kama udadari tiprena bhakti yogena yojeti purusham param. Because it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, a karma, if you have no desire, a karma sava, or you have many desires, you should go to Krishna. And you should worship Him with tivrena bhakti yogena, with like one-pointed attention. Yeah. So ultimately, we place ourselves, just like children, placed ourselves. What do children have to do to be safe and to feel protected? They just have to be in the arms of the mother, isn't it? That's it. They know if I'm in the arms of my mother, everything's going to be taken care of. Yeah. So this is the mood of a devotee. Yes, we are dependent upon things. We are dependent upon money coming into the bank account, isn't it? We are dependent upon perhaps a living and a job. Yeah. Yes, we are dependent upon that. But our approach to Krishna is not just for that and just for that alone. Yeah, our life is one of dedication to Krishna. Yeah, so we may pray for such things, but it's always, if you so see it fit, my Lord. Yeah. That's why even at the end of the Prabhupada's days, there was the devotees were praying, my dear Lord, please cure Prabhupada, if you so desire. Yeah? And so, a mood is, or the mood of a devotee is that, yeah, exactly that. Whatever the Lord wishes to give me for my sustenance, for my well-being, I will learn to live with that. Yeah. And so that means that it's like this, glorifying, the prayer that's glorifying Prahlad Maharaj uses the words, in a word to word, uses the words, Avyadhana Ananya Bhakti Yogena, by uninterrupted and unflinching devotional service. Yeah? So uninterrupted, Avaitaki Apatihata, yeah, uninterrupted and unflinching. If we're approaching the Lord just for material things, our devotion, or our so-called, you could say, devotion, is a shadow of devotion. It will be interrupted, and we will flinch. Yeah, and Prabhupada give this example, quite a simple example, where and I think he was referring to the Second World War, or perhaps the Second or the First World War, where the mothers, sisters, daughters, etc., of the German troops who went to war. Yeah, then they would pray. They would go to church, especially. Yeah, especially make it very. I'm definitely going to go to church today because my husband's just joined to go to war. So I'm definitely going to go to church and I'm going to pray. Yeah, which in one sense is good. Yeah, because we are completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So it's good to approach the Lord, whether it's a kamo, shavo, kamo, va. Yeah. In one sense it's good, but from another higher perspective, when we start to read about what is pure devotion, we say, well, actually, yeah. So and it looks, in one sense, it's very much when persons are approaching the Lord just for something material. And the point I come to is that, finish this example, is that, so you can guess what happened when their husbands, when their fathers and sons didn't come back. The only reason they probably went, well, not all of them, probably, but some of them, the only reason they're praying is that their relation comes back. And of course, war is war. So not everyone comes back. Actually, only a few come back. Depends on the war, yeah? So then, because that was their motive, then they decided to give up faith in the Supreme Lord, yeah? But as a devotee, we can offer prayers for our well-being and our sustenance, but ultimately we let the Lord provide or not provide. Yeah? And ultimately you've got, then for the ultimate exhibition, or the ultimate example of a pure heart, is of Prahlad Maharaj. Whereas he didn't even pray to the Lord, isn't it? He didn't even pray to the Lord for protection. Yeah, so that's pretty. That's pretty. As devotees, we pray to the Lord to be protected. But Prahlad Maharaj was so enwrapped and full in a deep connection with Krishna. Krishna was always there at every moment in his life, factually manifest. It's described in the Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj would often be dancing in ecstasy because he would feel the embrace of the Lord. This is before the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. He would feel the Lord's touch upon his head, and he would have ecstatic, he would go into ecstasy in the classroom, much to the amazement of his schoolmates. He'd be dancing in ecstasy, his hair standing on end. So he was always completely complete faith in the presence of the Lord in all circumstances. So therefore, he wouldn't pray for help even when he was put into very, very trying situations. If you want to read more, you read the 7th canto, what is graphic description of child abuse, can we say? Graphic description, yeah, at the hands of his materialistic father. Yeah. And Brihat Bhagavat Maharaj, he was mentioning, he read some commentaries on this, that Prahlad's mood was so pure that he didn't see any ill intent on his father's side. So in other words, when he was put into a pit of snakes, he thought, oh, my father's given me some snakes to play with. And when he was put into a vat of oil, he thought, oh, now my father's giving me a nice oil bath now. Happened to be boiling oil. He put his son in that. Yeah. But anyway, then and a part that I like to bring up this, I always remember this, he's telling this, Shivaram Swami Raj gave this example where, so one of, anyway, if you don't know the story, basically his father, Hiranyakashipu, was big demon number 1, yeah, and his son was a great, pure, unadulterated devotee. So his father, in the end, to cut a long story short, he hated his son because he was devoted to God, to the extent that he wanted to kill him. So he tried to kill him in many ways. But he couldn't. Why couldn't he kill him? Because Krishna was protecting him. No matter what he tried, he could not be killed. So he was. So one of the ways they tried to kill him, they took him to the top of a mountain. You know, anyone been to the top of a mountain and looked over the edge? So it's very. We have when we sometimes on traveling Sangatam, we would park at the cliffs of Dover, you know, and we look and we park right on the edge of the cliff. Well, not literally on the edge, but quite close, you know. Interesting place. They have suicide watches there, you know, because that's a favourite place, you know, where people commit suicide, you know. Even the local pubs, they're all trained to spot a jumper, you know. You know, they normally coming on their own, and they, you know, they're trained to spot them. Anyway, point of coming to it's quite, you know, it's scary, isn't it? So we might have thought that Prahlad Maharaj, you know, when he could have said when he was being dragged to the top, he might have been praying for help, yeah, to Lord Nrsingadev. Namaste Nrsingadev. But he didn't. He was completely difficult to really comprehend and understand the purity of his heart and his complete dependence upon the Lord. Yeah. And eventually they took him to the top. You can imagine if it was us, we might have been praying quite intently. But interesting at this point, interesting as a point is that we can pray as devotees, and we should pray Vandanam for protection of the Lord. But there is going to come a point when it's obvious I've been praying so much and so ardently, but this situation is just, it is. So therefore, Kesasara, it must be Krishna's arrangement. Yeah. So then, so we will see that devotees, go through different trials and tribulations, you know, different difficulties. Ultimately, it's for our good. Yeah, our Father puts us in situations for learning. Yeah, so we can go back to the spiritual world. But when it comes that Prahlad Maharaj, he was thrown off the top of the cliff, and the Lord didn't catch him. Yeah, until right at the very bottom. Threw him off the cliff. Then at the bottom, the Lord caught him. Yeah. So it's a graphic example, you know, it kind of illustrates sometimes we have to go through it, so to speak, you know, sometimes in our spiritual practice, we may have to go through it. But because we are devotees of the Lord, okay, we may be not pure, unadulterated devotees of the Lord, but the Lord still loves us and has affection. Even if someone approaches him with material desire, the Lord shows kindness to him. And we're on the path of pure devotion, so we're approaching the Lord, and we know we have these anatas, or these black things in the heart. But the Lord is so kind. So here, these prayers by the demigod, and they're wonderful prayers. And it's a nice mood of being completely dependent. Completely dependent. And this will give us peace, actually. The more we can see ourselves as being completely dependent upon the Lord, upon Krishna, then that's the real constitutional position of the living entity. Is to put ourselves under the Lord's protection. And and do we need the Lord's protection? Yes, very much so. And is there any questions or comments on these points? Yes, please. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, when are you saying to add marginal?
Yeah, some commentaries explain like that.
But how can we be like that in this world? Like, we're ignoring bad things people do this time, even though they ignore it.
Yeah, we can't undertake such an exalted level as Maharaj. As much as possible, when we're in difficult situations, we should try and adjust things so we can execute our devotional service with peace of mind. And we have to be intelligent as well. That's why it describes that as you got Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. So, the platform of Uttam, we have to make distinction between devotees and demons. And we have to, therefore, associate with the devotees and avoid situations which avoid persons or situations that will be adverse to our devotional service. So we can just offer prayers to Maharaj in amazement at his exalted level of Krishna consciousness. So does that help? Yeah. Yes. Problem.
We're making that Krishna didn't catch until at the bottom, so fearless, because as we read, Krishna's going to catch him before the bottom. He seemed to be free from fear, so just in respect to Vlad's not actually seeking the Lord's protection. Just wondering, how can one come from being in a fearful state and seeking the Lord's protection to the stage where Vlad's at work, even looking for it, and he's just letting him walk aside?
Yeah, I was just reading actually, I don't know if it's in this verse, but in the purpose. Abhayam, fearfulness, is one of the qualities of a devotee. Fearlessness, to be free of all fear. So it's how to come to that platform. Say it's an exalted state of Krishna consciousness. Because in other words, one is not just theoretically conscious that Krishna is moving everything and everyone, but seems the world reminds them it's a manifestation of Krishna. So everything that is going on is arranged by Krishna. But sometimes it may take for us, it may take some application. It may not be spontaneous like Prahlad. Say if we're in a plane and it starts isn't it? There's a sense of, I don't know, there's always a sense of quiet fear, isn't it, getting on the plane? Because you never know. You never know. It might crash. I'm sure everyone's thinking the same thing, isn't it? And, when the hostess gets up and does a demonstration, it's a bit of a joke, isn't it, when you play. But anyway, the point I'm saying is that if the plane's in danger, then the devotee can apply that pretty quickly and intensely, But ultimately, in a state of supreme God consciousness, one is not fazed. And is it the example of Prabhupada when the Second World War, when the bombs were coming, Prabhupada preferred to stay at home and eat Kachuris rather to the shelter, you know. So you just heard the sound. Sure. So how to come to that stage? I think that's the process of Krishna consciousness. So I wouldn't, the exalted state of Krishna consciousness to realize that everything's being moved by Krishna's direction and Krishna's will. So sometimes we'll experience that to different degrees. You know, we may experience. And actually, and devotees get empowered to be free of fear. Actually, free of fear in their service. You know? I remember one of the first times when I still remember the first day I was asked to go on book distribution. You know, the thought of getting out and stopping and speaking to people was like, remember I was in the back of the car, and as we was getting closer to the spot, I had all butterflies in my stomach. I didn't get much training. You know, they gave me a board to tell me what to say and said, we'll pick you up in 5 hours. Just left. I was fear. There was all these people. I'd never done that type of thing before. I wasn't one to speak to people I don't know, you know, let alone on the street and stop them. Anyway, somehow or another, Krishna, I did it. And when I did it, I felt Krishna gave me confidence. He gave me somewhat to be free of the fear and anxiety. So we can experience that in our services, you know. Sometimes when, by Krishna's grace, he can free us from fear, you know, and anxiety. Yeah. Anything on that, Prabhupada? Yeah.
There's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
Krishna says, just surrender to not fear, because Krishna knows we are afraid to surrender. So sometimes the fear stops us from taking steps forward.
Yeah.
Thinking that if we don't take steps forward, then the fear will go away. But the fear goes away when you take steps forward.
Yeah. That's the challenge. Yeah. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I've heard that before. Omla mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, just like giving class, for example, who have experience. I was hesitant to give the class. I was such exalted devotees, a little bit of anxiety and fear. But anyway, you do it. Yeah. So that's what makes devotional service quite exciting, because you have to make those steps, things you're perhaps fearful of. If the Vaishnavas are asking you to do it, as Krishna is asking you to do it, so make those steps, as Prabhupada Prana is explaining, then Krishna will give you the ability. You know, go on book distribution of different services. You might get asked to give a presentation in front of 5,000 people. Would you do it or not? Would you be fearful for a little bit? You're giving a presentation, yeah, of Krishna consciousness. So, but yeah, we see ourselves as small, humble servants, and we put ourselves under Krishna. I can't do this. Only you can give me the ability to do it. It sounds like a weakness in one sense, but it's not. It's a spiritual strength to put ourselves under the protection of Krishna. Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on these points? Yes, please.
Sometimes I get kind of confused because they don't care about climate change and they don't care about kind of social issues. But then, is that just me being ignorant and like not having full faith in Krishna consciousness? Like, should I not care? And, like, should I just rely on Krishna? Is Krishna's plan?
Well, in one sense, we should care, because it's Krishna's bhumi. It belongs to Krishna, and it's being managed by gross materialists, and it's having an adverse effect on the planet. Yeah, the world is not being led by Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah, so we should be concerned about that. We should want to maintain the earth. We want to maintain a situation. We shouldn't just turn our back. You know, no, we should we are concerned. We should have a concern about what's happening at the hands of materialistic persons. Yeah, so that's why we have eco here. We have a wonderful eco farm. We're concerned. We're not just gonna, let it go on. Yeah, we kind of feel that we're doing this as a service to Krishna. Creating farms and educating people in how to live more simply. As it Prabhupada wanted, one of his main things he wanted was to establish farm communities. Yeah. So to learn to live simply, so we can think highly. So we should see it as a service to mankind, or a service to Krishna, which will benefit mankind. That we want to create sustainable living. Yeah. So, okay. Anything else? Otherwise, stop there. Gantara Shima Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Penwandi, Hari Bol, Hari Krishna, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Hari Krishna.